Hey everybody, back with the video after a long time, and this time you see in my face. I normally wear glasses. I can see my phone closer up without glasses better, so I look different than I would if you saw me in real life. Anyways, figured I'd do that. I get to see what people look like on most of the videos I see. I'm gonna stop the video, start a new one, do some editing, very lo-fi editing, and show you cards that I got in a big haul of mostly commons, vintage commons. Sorry for this weird editing that's probably going to end up happening here. I was almost done with my little intro. My alarm went off on my phone and I just stopped talking and pressed stop. So anyways, I'm going to show these cards as I tell the story. Last week I went to my favorite local card store, and you never know what you're going to find there. They get a pretty good turnover. It's not the hugest store, but it's got a good selection. And he had a box of commons that were pretty much 1974 to 1979. And I think he said, yeah, they're pretty much like a quarter each. And I looked at what I needed for sets that I'm putting together for some of those years, and I bought them. I'm sure that he ended up charging me less than a quarter each at that store. Whatever I buy, graded cards, commons, stuff out of the 25-cent boxes that they always have, it always ends up being cheaper at the end. He'll take some money off. So I don't even remember what I spent last week, but this time, so when I was there, he said, oh yeah, I've also got a box of some older cards too. And I was out of time, and I think he didn't have them put out yet. So I went back yesterday, and there was a bunch of 50s and 60s, mostly 60s and early 70s, just the older cards that weren't in the previous box. And according to the owner and another customer, these boxes were way picked over by the time I went there yesterday. But to me, there was still a lot of great stuff. These 1960s, I put them in these penny sleeves, but a few of them that I got have some creases, but these are in pretty nice condition. There was a handful in the batch that he had there that were totally thrashed on the back, which I didn't get any of the thrashed ones, but these are pretty nice. So as I was going through them and getting into the 60s instead of the 70s, I figured, well, commons from the 60s, especially the early 60s, might be a little bit more than a quarter. So before I went through them all, I asked him, what about these commons from the 60s? Are they going to be a little bit more? What's the deal? Just so I know. He's like, man, just depends on condition, but about a quarter each. So I was like, all right, I'm going for it. And, there were tons of commons from 61, 62, 63, bunch of different sets, and I just didn't have the time, or I can't start building all these sets. So those ones I mostly looked for Dodgers cards that I needed because I'm putting together a big Dodgers project. But 1960, these were so nice, and I like this set a lot, and there were more of this set than maybe most of the other sets, so I just made a giant pile of these 1960s cards, and I'm just gonna, for the sake of time, not do all of them. I think I got about 145 1960 cards. A few of them I did have. I didn't remember what I had at home already, but I knew mostly I had some Hall of Famers, some mostly lower level Hall of Famers, so I didn't remember what I had. So I got a few that I already did own, but mostly I got ones that were new for me. So I think out of 500 and something cards in the set, I'm over 200 now. So anyways, I got these 1960s. There's a whole nother stack over here of 1960s that I'm not going to show, but so about half my haul from the store were from the 1960s set, and most of them pretty nice condition. And then I had not common, some Hall of Famers from 60, oh God, I get the 61 and all these early Fleer ones, early 60s, not a Hall of Famer, but those from that 61 Fleer, I believe. Somebody will know and correct me, or 62, whatever it is. Some, I'm trying to get every Topps card from the LA Dodgers era, not Brooklyn, but LA. So these were Dodgers cards that I didn't have. And then I am working on sets from 72 to 91. A lot of those I had complete or mostly complete from my childhood, except for the earlier ones like 72. So I do have on my phone what cards I need for 1972. And went through the whole thing they had there of 1972 cards. So I ended up getting quite a few 72s. Again, most of them in nice condition. Of course, they're newer than 1960. I'm not too condition sensitive. I'm trying to put together these sets and just kind of do it on the cheap. So it's been taking me a long time because I just add to them when I find some good deals. You know, sometimes it makes sense to buy a lot of 300 of them on eBay for cheap, but then you might already have half of them. So I really like when you can go through them at the store like this and get just ones that you need only. So I did the same thing for 73, 77. These ones I had for the set, but I needed an additional one for the Dodger project. And then a bunch of 1977 commons for my 1977 set. I think that's pretty much it. So I took them to the counter, and I didn't count them. I was like, yeah, maybe I got 300 cards here. It was my approximation. So 150 would be if they're 50 cents each. So 75. So I was like, I'll be pretty happy if it's $70 for all this stuff, all those 1960 commons. I mean, you can find them for $0.25 each on eBay, maybe if you really look around and they're in much lower condition, but in condition like this, I think $0.25 was incredible, great deal. So he counted them all while I browsed some other stuff. He's like, well, you have 288 cards here. How about $45? I said, no problem. That is more than fair. I'm down with that. And I got all this stuff for $45. Got to the car, did some calculations on the computer, on my phone. Well, one calculation. About 15 cents a card. 15 cents a card for 70s and 60s, and half of them being 1960 in nice condition. Commons to add to a set. So and I didn't take off like the snooze or something on the alarm. Sorry for this really poor quality editing. I'm not redoing anything. So anyways, that was the deal. I really like this big haul of stuff. I do have a lot of the 1960 Hall of Famers, but mostly the less expensive ones. I do have Koufax in 1960, but I still need Mays, Mantle, Clemente, Ernie Banks, all that stuff. So, whether I ever end up completing a 1960 set, who knows? But I was able to get probably more than $0.25 of the set yesterday for a very low amount of dollars. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy to be back here posting a video, and hopefully I'll do another one soon. Thanks for watching.